Okay, so I'll do another formal welcome as we get the recording started, but thank you for being here. This is part of our Cougar Community check-in where we create a virtual space for students to be able to connect with one another. And we recently have been inviting speakers to these series. And so we're super happy to have Elisabeth Deswart here, who will introduce herself here shortly. Pretty soon I'll be removing this screen, and so she'll have a bigger version, or you'll have her as a bigger part of your Zoom window here this evening, as we really want to focus our time on that kind of cooking demonstration. So I noticed we do have some more people entering the waiting room, so we'll just continue.
We have quite a few coming in.
We'll just continue to admit them, and they'll get the messaging too that we are recording this session. So if, like I mentioned, if you do have your cell phone available, feel free to scan that QR code. It will be what we use to get the $25 eTarget gift card to you, and then also what we'll be using to potentially have you win a secondary gift card just for being here today. So we do want to make sure we have enough time for everything. Jamie, do you want to start the polling component?
Yeah, I'll start the polls. I want to make sure I get everybody that's in the waiting room in here before we do that. So I think we're good for now. Okay, welcome everybody. I'm so happy that you all are here. This is a great turnout. So
and I guess we should introduce ourselves in some way too. So if you want to do that, I kind of forgot about that.
So my name is Jamie Betancourt. I'm an academic success coach with Cuesta. I work with students all over campus, and I'm part of the Cougar Voices crew. So again, thanks for being here.
Awesome. And I didn't introduce myself, but my name is Christina. I'm a coordinator for grant-funded programs here at Cuesta College. And we started this community space in a smaller group and decided we should just open it up to the whole campus. So like Jamie said, there's a team of us putting these series on. So we're super happy that you're here. I am going to stop sharing my screen. And so we can get started with the introduction of Elisabeth and get the polls going too.
So before we get into why you all are here, I have a couple polls I'd like to share with you all to help us kind of inform Cougar Voices. Help us get to know you a little bit better and inform Cougar Voices. So I'm going to launch a couple polls. Here's the first one. So if you would just take a quick second to answer this on where you heard about this event. Okay, so I think that's, okay. So I'm gonna give, if you haven't answered yet, maybe take 1 or 2 seconds to get your answer in, and then I'm gonna stop sharing and give you a new poll. Okay, so I'm gonna stop and I have a couple more for you real quick. I don't want to take up too much time. But this one, how likely are you to attend another Cuesta Voices event?
It seems like a good question for the end, so maybe we'll recommend that next time. See how it goes first.
Yeah. Okay. There's a positive answers to start with. All right, maybe we can do it again at the end and see if we've changed anybody's minds one way or the other. And then, okay. A couple more seconds. All right, 1 or 2 more seconds, and I'm going to, in the interest of moving on, I'm going to end this one. And then on this last one, this is a more general question. What would help you with your academic success? And you're going to have 2 ways to answer this question. You can answer this question here in the poll, I'm also going to put a link in the chat for you all right now. And through that link in the chat, you have the opportunity to answer this in any way that you see fit. It's an open-ended opportunity in the chat if you want to do it that way as well.
Would we only choose one option or multiple?
You can do both if you like.
It only allowed me to use to pick one answer.
Yeah, I think Zoom only allows you one answer, but if you go to that link that Jamie put in the chat, there's an opportunity to write.
Oh, sorry. I'm sorry. Yeah. Yeah, if you go to the link that I put in the chat, if you go there, you can put in, I think you have up to 250 characters, so you could put in more than one answer there.
Jamie, I think I'm going to close this poll down. It's kind of been stuck at the same number of folks for a little bit here, and we can.
Okay. Perfect.
There we go.
Okay.
How do I fill out the job form again?
I'll go ahead and put it in the chat, so no problem about that. We want to make sure you get that in there so we can get you your $25 e-gift card for sure, and the chance to win a secondary gift card too. So without further ado, we do want to make sure we get to our main speaker of today's event, and we really would recommend that you, in the Zoom room, which is hopefully if you're on a computer, you can click on the top right side where it's right now is in gallery view. We would recommend putting it in speaker view, so that way our presenter is larger on your screen. Any questions as we go through this event, feel free to put the questions or comments in the chat. Jamie and I will be monitoring that. And then we do want to introduce our nutrition instructor, Elisabeth Deswart, who can talk a little bit about what she's prepared for us tonight. So Elisabeth, feel free to take it away.
Hey everyone, I'm so glad you could come tonight. We're gonna make potachos, which is one of my favorite foods. And so it brings together French fries and nachos into one delicious dish that we get to enjoy together. And the recipe, it's going to be made available to everyone. It has the shopping list and it also has the instructions. So today's groceries came from Target, and the students attending will have an opportunity to get a Target card. And so you too, with the amount that's on your card, will be able to create all of this magic. And I have to say, I'm not usually a Target shopper, but I put the app on my phone. I selected the items I wanted to purchase. And I went and I drove up and they put it in my car and I drove away. It's probably like the most easy shopping experience I've ever had. So this is what you have to look forward to. So a little bit about myself. I am a registered dietitian. I have a master's in nutrition, and I have worked in hospitals, clinical environments of all different sorts and kinds. And I've also worked in schools. I've worked in communities, in prisons, every kind of environment a dietitian can be in. I've dived in and explored it, done research with kids and nutrition. And so I'm really excited to be teaching at Cuesta. I teach nutrition and I lead Culinary Arts here. So one thing we're announcing, we're like, so you're some of the first people to hear, we have a new certificate it's called Plant-Based Sustainable Nutrition, Culinary Arts, and Agriculture Certificate. And so it's going to be starting in the fall, 2021. It is entirely online for safety. So you can be anywhere in the world and take this course. We have a variety of recipes that are going to be available in the culinary course, so that there's always something that, even if you have one ingredient, there's a wonderful recipe you can prepare. And then we'll also have more complex recipes for people who really want to take it to the highest level. And we're going to be doing a deep dive on sustainability and plant-based eating and nourishing ourselves and the planet, which is everything that we need right now so much. So I'm really excited to share that with you. The other thing I wanted to share is that we have our plant-based nutrition club. Our next meeting is March 19th. And so if you want any information about the plant-based sustainable certificate or the plant-based nutrition club, you can email Elisabeth Deswart at cuesta.edu, and I'll be happy to share more. So with that, why don't we get started? Okay, so in my grocery bags, I have, all of this was under $25. I have a stack of russet potatoes. So interestingly enough, in the past few years, potatoes have been demonized, and really they're one of the most nourishing foods on the planet, and some of the healthiest people on earth who live the longest with vitality and energy. Their carbohydrate, which is the body's preferred fuel, is potatoes. So then why are French fries unhealthy? Well, it's because they have like refined food in them. And so when we're eating whole plants as close to nature as possible, then it's as we evolved eating, and our bodies tend to do very well on them. So we're using russet potatoes, and we are cutting them into wedges like so. And I'm trying to get a little closer here. And then I don't know if you can see very well, I have an air fryer. You could also do this in an oven. And when we roast them, they get nice and crispy. And so if you use an oven, a conventional oven, I really encourage you to pick up one of these racks, which allows the air to circulate, and it makes the fries a lot more crispy. But really, you could do this on any baking sheet that you wanted. And so then we'll put our potatoes on our platter, our serving plate. And you can eat these with ketchup or barbecue sauce, what have you, whatever you like. And I like to use, there's a ketchup that I really enjoy, which is made by Primal Kitchen. And it doesn't have any sweetener in it. So you get all of the tomatoey goodness, but you don't have to worry about your health. And they also have a really good barbecue sauce, and these are available also at Target. We decided to level up, so we're doing potachos. So we are also going to put on top some delicious fresh corn, and we're gonna chop up some green bell peppers. Some tomatoes, cilantro, very important. Not everyone likes cilantro, but it's one of my favorite green leafy vegetables. Some lettuce, some cabbage, shredded cabbage, onions. I like red for when we're using them raw, and a little garlic, of course. Garlic is great right now for immunity, as well as the onion, the jalapenos of various colors, the cilantro. That is also good for immunity. We have a squeeze of lime we're going to put on, and black beans. I like black, but you could use pinto, whatever you like. A nice hack, if you like fresh beans but don't want to spend the time preparing them, is you can always stop by your local taqueria, and if you bring your own container, they'll actually usually charge you less for it than they normally would, and they'll fill up a pretty big container for $1 or $2. And then you have like fresh. I usually ask for whole beans because refried, they usually add oil. And so if I want them to have the refried texture, then I just mash or puree half of them and stir them back in. And they have a delicious creamy texture. And they're so nourishing. Beans are actually, if you look at all the longevity regions on Earth that the researchers have found identified as blue zones, the one food they all share are beans. Beans is their main protein source. So this is one of my secrets of healthy living right here. And then our healthy fats. So we have avocado, which is very important in my world. And then we also have a fun product that I thought I'd share with you today. It is a Kite Hill cream cheese. And you may say, cream cheese? That doesn't belong on a nacho. But really it is, it's a creamy spread made from almonds. And they make it the same, like they ferment it, so it tastes like sour cream. So if you add a little bit of water to it, just to loosen it up, then it's like the most heavenly sour cream, and it's really good for you. Target also carries a lot of what they call queso sauces, which would be like a plant-based nacho cheese sauce. And they have different varieties, different spice levels, different calorie counts on them. Some are low, some are high, like richer. So those are also available, but I got this one because this one's my favorite. And so let us assemble our potachos. I have cut everything up here, and took me about 5 minutes, if that. And so I have my potatoes, and I'd heat up my beans, and put them on top, and put some of our toppings on. Kids really love these kinds of meals where it's build your own. And so we've done meals like this. We did burritos, rainbow burritos. Notice that I've hit all of the rainbow of colors here. That's another one of my secrets to longevity and health, is a rainbow of fruits and vegetables and beans and nuts and seeds. Kids, like if you tell them at the beginning, like, hey, can you get the whole rainbow on? We find, we've done the YMCA events in our nutrition club, and the parents, when they get to the end of the line, they tell us, my child never eats that. Oh my gosh. It's like, this is wonderful, because they are excited, and they are making it themselves, and they really do want to get all those colors on there. So we'll do a little cilantro, and you can just put the toppings on that sound best to you. I added some seasoning to the Kite Hill almond cream cheese, to like some chili powders that I like, ground up chilies, so that I could have my own sort of queso here. So we're gonna put some of that on. Let's see, I had a spoon somewhere. Where did my spoon go? I think I lost my spoon. I need a cameraman in my house. I don't have any. It's just me and my puppy. I got a puppy recently. She's taking her nap right now. Otherwise, she would be talking too, quite vocally, I'm sure. So we've got our sour cream and our nacho cheese, and then put on our avocado. And squeeze of lime. So I'll come in a little bit closer so you can see the finished plate. So here we have the potachos. So I'm curious, shall we open it up to students, like to questions or thoughts or ideas for different ways to prepare like nourishing foods that taste delicious?
Quick question. So are you just substituting meat for potatoes instead? Is that what you did?
Oh, so instead of corn chips, Potachos have French fries. But if you wanted to do corn chips, you can get corn tortillas and cut them into wedges. And they get super crispy, especially on these, but you could just roast them in the oven until they're really crispy. If it tastes like a shoe, if it's the texture of a shoe, then the temperature needs to be a little lower for a little longer. So it'll crisp up really nicely and get that crunch. You can also microwave the triangles of tortilla and they'll get super crispy. You can do that with potatoes too. So if I slice these potatoes like paper thin and I lay them in a single layer with a little room around each one in the microwave, and I kept an eye on them so they don't burn, then they'll turn into potato chips that have the texture of Lay's potato chips. And I recommend, usually oil sort of sticks on the seasonings, but I recommend if you're just doing like seasoned potato wedges, that you put on the seasoning before you bake them, because then they'll stick on there. And I've actually brought some of my favorite seasonings today.
And Elisabeth, we did have a question in the chat of how long to cook those wedges for.
Oh yeah, it depends on your oven. So what I recommend is putting your oven on 375 degrees Fahrenheit and having the potato wedges in a single layer on the baking sheet with room around each one so they get extra crispy. And then just keep peeking in on them. I recommend flipping them halfway through. The bottom side will probably brown faster. And I am like part of, I think, delicious cooking is having a lot of spices. And so, I mean,
sorry to go back to the question, but someone mentioned too, they have an air fryer. So how long would you recommend in an air fryer compared to the oven?
Right, an air fryer is gonna cook things a little faster and it's gonna cook things a little hotter. And so an air fryer, just to sort of like clarify the tool, it's a convection oven, a small convection oven. And what that means is that it's like your normal oven, except it circulates hot air. There's a fan in it. So in fact, a lot of people's ovens in their homes, they don't realize it. They have a convection setting, and they can, just by turning on the convection setting, turn their oven into an air fryer. So an air fryer is just a marketing name for a convection oven. And so it's gonna be heating to about 25 degrees Fahrenheit higher than your normal oven. So you might have your convection oven needing to be at a slightly lower temperature. Another trick is to steam the potato wedges. You can bake the potatoes whole and slice them up whenever you want them. You can cut the wedges and, like, if you want, you can steam them. And these are all tricks to get them super crispy.
Nice, I love it. And it looks like some people in the chat are kind of giving some suggestions too of, like, 375 works over this many minutes. So yeah, if you have suggestions too, feel free to put them in there. But
yeah, as far as time goes, like, it really varies from oven to oven. So I just keep peeking on them, and you get to know your oven. Usually when you smell it, then it's a little bit too late. So it's good
Elisabeth, I have a question for you.
Yeah.
Do you have a recommendation if I am interested, and maybe some students are interested in a source, a website for other kind of healthy, doable meals? Do you have any recommendations?
Absolutely. And it's great. Like the optimal health nutrition guidelines, food guidelines are the same for just optimal health in general. So, diabetes and what would you say? Autoimmune disease, low energy, immunity, all of these things are benefited by the same way of eating. And so the one person that, if I was going to mention one today that has this recipe on her site for potato wedges, I would recommend Plantiful Kiki. Maybe I should type that in the text box.
Okay, cool. Or I can do it too if you want to tell me how to do it.
Oh, autocorrect.
oh, I see it. And I don't mind just putting the link in the chat too to the website.
Oh, it did it again. Okay, thank you. It really wants it to be plentiful. She is plentiful, but her name is Plantiful. And her recipes are, her focus, her sort of angle on the, like her sort of, she's focused on weight loss, but it's the way of eating that benefits overall health. And she has so many wonderful recipes that I think you'll enjoy. And if you're interested in more specific ones, like if there's a particular type of demeanor that you like of the person creating the recipes, then email me. I have like 20 million people, what that might fit your personality. And I'd love to recommend one for you.
I have a question, Professor Deswart.
Yes.
Do you have any tips for keeping vegetables and fruits as well, like fresh? Like, would freezing them be a better way to go, or preparing them in a different way? Because that's the only thing I've struggled with, and having like vegetables regularly and well as fruits, is they just go bad often.
Yeah. So this is one of my secrets. Is what I really try to do is put the produce in the environment that it would be in nature. And it seems to prolong its life. So, for example, I would put, if I have like something that's kind of like has a stem on it, like a bouquet would, then I would, so like cilantro, I put a little water in a jar, in a vase, and I put the stems in the vase. And then you need to give it a little hat. So I don't have a plastic bag here, but you can pretend this jar is a plastic bag. It just, you just need, this is how it goes in the fridge, and it stays really crispy and fresh.
What about like lettuce or cabbage?
Yeah, you know, one of the secrets to that, you know, I personally, I shop at the farmer's market every week, and that's like the one place I go every week for all my groceries. And the farmer's market, I mean, they have beans, they have grains, they have miso paste, they have seaweed, they have breads, like whole grain breads, they have fresh salsas. It's not just produce. And when I buy things fresh, they last so long. And so the cabbage that I buy at the conventional grocery store, you know, it had to travel from maybe a different country and sit in a warehouse, like this huge warehouse. And then it was put on a truck and it was driven to a store. And then it sat there for a week. And then I bring it home and I wonder why, you know, like, why is it going bad so quickly? And, but if I go to the farmer's market, they just, it's less, it's more affordable. If I have food stamps, if I have my EBT card, I get double dollars up to a certain amount. So I double my EBT dollars for every time I go to the farmer's market. And then it's just like super fresh. And the only person that's touched it is that farmer. And they're just handing it to me. And it's like an open air environment. And I can't even tell you, I'm spoiled now. Like that cabbage is so sweet, that lettuce is so crispy, and it stays crispy for the entire week. And part of another one of my secrets for keeping things fresh is some people like prep everything and they chop them up and they put them in sealed containers. That, I mean, that sort of promotes the food going bad more quickly. So what I do is I just, a lot of my eating is just eating food as it is. So I have this like tomato here, you know, I might just, you know, eat this like an apple, or, you know, leave it intact. There's like baby cucumbers, baby lettuces, and I can just dip the whole head of lettuce in some like delicious salsa that I picked up at the farmer's market. Or I'll just like chop it up really quickly the day of and throw it in some Tupperware. And I find that's really effective. As far as like cooked grains and beans, I don't have time to soak them and slowly cook them and nurture them, and because I'm busy. And so I usually pick those up from like a taqueria or like an Asian inspired restaurant, and then I'll throw them in the freezer. And if you put them in a thin layer, then you can just break off however much you want to use. And it makes it, you know, you can freeze bread and you just like toast it or steam it when you're ready to eat it. All of these things can have it so you have really fresh tasting food on hand that, and you don't have to worry about it going bad.
When are the farmers markets in SLO?
So let's see. For San Luis Obispo, my favorite is the Saturday Farmers Market in the Madonna Shopping Plaza. It's right next to Cost Plus, to Sprouts Market. And, you know, a lot of the fancy restaurants, Novo, Provisions, Luna Red, they drive up in their trucks and they get their produce there. Except when you buy it yourself, you're getting like the same salad that they're serving at Novo, but you're only paying pennies for it. And so that's Saturdays. It starts at 8, and I think it goes until 10:30. Then there is also one of my other favorites is in Morro Bay, afternoons on Thursdays. And that one's not too busy. There's also one in North County, if you're a North County person, and they are Saturdays, they start at 9. And And they're located, Crystal, can you help me out? Where are they located?
Yeah, hi. So in Templeton on Saturdays, that one's located at the park. So if you've ever been there, and that one's really, really great. One of my favorites as well. Also the Thursday one in Morro Bay, Baywood, on Mondays. I think there's even one on Tuesdays in Paso Robles, I think. So as far as another one in the North County, I haven't been there in years and years. I'm not sure. So those are some of my favorites as well.
Yeah, and Jamie and I put the link in the chat to the SLO County Farmers Market page. So it does have all the hours and locations for the whole county. So whatever is convenient for you, you can check that out to see what's the closest to you.
Hey, Crystal, will you introduce yourself as
Yeah. Hi, everyone. My name is Crystal Robb. I'm a student at Cuesta College, and I'm president of the Plant-Based Nutrition Club. So I get to work with Elisabeth a lot on lots of fun things. Hi, I see people saying hi. Hi. So yeah, and our club's doing some fun things for Nutrition Month, and we'll be sending out, I'm kind of collaborating with the Student Health Center and kind of getting a lot of nutrition recipes and things out to the students. So make sure you're checking out their website as well.
And then if students are interested in the club, what's the best way to get connected?
Yeah, I can send my email. You can email me. You can email Elisabeth. And I will. Oops, I had something else in the chat.
Great.
Great, well, thanks, Crystal.
Yeah, thank you.
Also an embedded tutor in nutrition.
Yep, embedded tutor, absolutely. I took Elisabeth's Nutrition 210 class, one of the first classes I took at Cuesta, and if anybody here hasn't taken that class, I recommend taking that class. I think it's a wonderful, wonderful class. Elisabeth does a wonderful job, and I think it's just the info that's there is just life info. I even if people aren't interested in nutrition, I think it's just wonderful info for life, giving you the powerful tools of knowledge so that when you can go to the store, you can make your own decisions. You don't have to rely on what other people tell you or labels and such. So it's empowering. It's really great. So.
Crystal? So
Thank
what's
you.
some other questions?
There was some, not necessarily questions, but some comments in the chat when you were mentioning seasoning. And I know we went in a different direction, but I didn't know if you wanted to show some of what you have.
Absolutely. Yes, let me share some of my favorite seasonings. So I am a ground dried chili collector, you could say. And so I love all ground chilies. There's actually a spice company. I've started to nerd out. And the one that I've been shopping at most recently, they mail it straight to your home. And it's called the Spice House. And they're really affordable. I just buy a lot at once and the shipping is free. So, and they have spices from all around the world that are just so much better even than the ones at the market. So I have the Guajillo chili. I have a New Mexico green chili. And sometimes I want things to be a little smoky, so I'll put a little chipotle powder in there, ground smoked jalapeno. And for people who don't do spice, paprika is a really wonderful way to have like that rich chili flavor in your food without having it be spicy or burny. And so they have a really nice selection of paprikas. I really am in love with New Mexico red chilies. That's another great one. And you can buy them whole in the market and just grind them up in your blender for a couple dollars. A lot of these are available in stores, like red pepper flakes. That also works really well in giving your food a lot of like flavor and umami. So speaking of umami, you can also get like ground dried tomato. That adds a big flavor kick. This also has umami, kind of like that cheesy, meaty flavor. So this gives things a sort of a cheesiness. Nutritional yeast. That's a fun seasoning to try. And then, you know, if I'm going in like a Latin or an Indian inspired direction, I'll put some cumin in and top it off with a little oregano. I like to add the herbs at the end so they don't, if I put them in early, it'll make the dish taste bitter. So I usually sort of dust some on as a garnish at the end with some black pepper. And you can fresh grind the pepper if you like. And then just to like boost the umami and the flavor, I'll use fresh onion and garlic, but I also use dried. So, you know, and I'm also using the fresh chilies, like the red and the green. So by using the foods in like dried and fresh forms and raw and cooked, then you can really layer the flavor and just like till it just is incredibly delicious. So glutamates are what happens when, like, for example, you make cheese or you age a steak. It's when proteins start to break down, and that's when you get those like really savory, like almost like you just crave it at 2 a.m. kinds of flavors. And so we also get those glutamates, that flavor from the chilies, when you dry the chilies, when you dry the tomato, also from miso paste. So when you ferment a bean, just like when you ferment the dairy, the bovine dairy, you get that cheesy umami flavor. So I would use a white miso in like a cheesy sauce. I would use like a dark miso in like a tomato sauce. And that just gives it like a whole new level of flavor. These are less healthy, but very delicious. And so it's a soup base, but you can use it to season food. This one tastes like chicken and this one tastes like beef, but they don't actually contain any animal products. So especially if, you know, some of our partners are ready to eat healthy, you know, they're used to eating out and they want those like savory, like flavor explosions, like adding a little bit of these kind of things to your cooking can really kind of like draw them in.
What makes them less healthy?
These have refined ingredients in them. Any kind of like soup-based product usually has sort of like isolates, like they've taken food and altered it quite extensively. So I use it sparingly. It's not something I use every day, but it's something I have in my toolbox. Another thing with a lot of umami are mushrooms. These are also amazing for immunity. So any kind of mushroom, if you can just incorporate those into your food in whatever way you like, especially cooked, this is gonna really help keep your immune system healthy and help your body adapt with stress. And one of my favorite green leafy vegetables, also with a lot of flavor and umami, is seaweed. And I like to just eat this like a cracker with a soup maybe, or I'll use it to make like a sushi hand roll. I'll make like a sushi bowl and I'll put some on top. Also, like really high in flavor and umami is like soy sauce and tamari. So these are other things you can use to boost up your flavor. Like you could put that in your beans. Like if you wanted something that was more meaty on your nachos, you could saute up some onions and garlic and chilies and mushrooms. And they have like these little lentils, little French lentils. And they have sort of the texture of ground beef. And you can saute those all together with all the different chilies, a little bit of miso, a little bit of tamari, a little bit of some kind of like tomato. And you can have a really, really zesty topping for your nachos. I like tomato sauce is another really umami flavor punch I like to put in things. And yeah, if you're doing something more sweet, has a little like sweetness to it, you can use coconut aminos, and those taste like soy sauce or tamari, but they're not. They have a little bit of sweetness to them. So that's really fun for like teriyaki. And if I'm doing hot wings, like if I want to roast the potato wedges or a cauliflower and I want them to kind of taste like hot wings, I'll coat them in this. And this is entirely plant-based. I don't know what their formula is, but it is a magical sauce that you will crave at 2 a.m. And yeah, if you're looking for a product, if you're thinking like, oh gosh, I love cheese so much, how could I ever do without it? There's so many wonderful cheese products now. And this is one of them that I like. I look for ones without any added oil. And so that's one thing when you're looking at the ingredient list, look for ones that are just made with food, maybe with nuts and seeds and miso paste, like some kind of bean, and maybe some cultures. And there's actually a company in San Luis Obispo. They're called Wheelhouse, Artisan Wheelhouse, and they are so like careful with quality, and they're using the spores that they use to make actual like traditional dairy cheeses. And so they're making brie out of cashews, and it has the rind and you can slice into it, and it's incredibly delicious. And then also Jennifer Golden, she has the Vreamery, and so you can go to the market walk in North County and buy her cheeses and get a grilled cheese sandwich that's made entirely from plants and nourishing food. What other questions do you have?
And you're welcome to put them in the chat, or you can even unmute yourself and ask the question as well. Elisabeth, I just put the links in the chat to those 2 places you just mentioned. Folks can check them out.
That you just made looks delicious. I just want to say thank you. It looks really good. It made me hungry. I was not even hungry. I just ate, but I'm hungry again just by looking.
That makes me so happy. Thank you.
Do you have any tips for like sweeteners and like baked goods that are more like natural without using like refined sugar?
Absolutely. So I love dates as a sweetener, and I also love pureed fruits. You know, growing up, the dates that were in the markets tasted like molasses, and they had a bitterness to them. I didn't really care for them so much, but now I'm, now in the world where they're like, there's 20 million vinegars and there's 20 million chocolates. I'm trying all these different varieties of dates, and some of them just taste like maple syrup. Some of them taste like brown sugar or white sugar. And so you can order them online, they mail them to your house. I like to use Flying Disc Ranch. Flying Disc Ranch is the favorite of Alice Waters, who founded Chez Panisse, a legendary farm-to-table restaurant. And their bari dates melt in your mouth, and they taste like maple candy. And so I use dates when I'm substituting sugar in a baked good 1-to-1. If it's not a soft date, then I'll mash it up with a little simmering water until it forms a paste, like a peanut butter texture. And I'll just substitute it in my recipe 1-for-1. Flour, I generally just use 100% whole grain flours. Oftentimes I'll get a rolled grain. And so if you go to there's some like really amazing local markets in our county. One of my favorites is the Slow Food Co-op. That's in San Luis Obispo. They have a variety of bulk rolled grains. Some of them are gluten-free, some of them aren't. And you can just put all the ingredients in your blender, substitute some of the flour or all of the flour with the rolled grain. And then, gosh, I've used that to make cakes and cookies, and it allows the grain to be more intact and less refined than, say, a flour, so that it's more how our bodies evolved eating grains. And gosh, they're so delicious. All the different varieties of grains. There's also Gather in North County. There's Lassen's in Santa Maria. And so they often carry dates. They often carry rolled grains and whole grain flours. And instead of oil, in cooking, in baking, in cooking, I substitute oil with like some kind of plant puree. And so, and I choose my plant puree based on the dish that I'm making. So if I'm making banana bread, I might substitute banana for the butter. If I want to make like a white birthday cake, like a vanilla birthday cake for a child who has very sensitive taste buds, I would choose something as neutral as possible. Maybe like an applesauce or a pear sauce. And for a chocolate cake, then the sky's the limit. You could use many different purees. Like you could even use vegetable purees. You can use sweet potato. Like for that child's birthday cake, the vanilla, I could use a white sweet potato puree, just like mashed up, and so, yeah, you could also cook a zucchini and puree that and use that to replace fat. And it gives it the moisture. So when we're baking, the oil adds moisture to the dish. The reason why we tend to lean on oil in the United States is because we generally overbake our baked goods, and they dry out if we're using water for moisture. But if we're using oil, then they don't dry out as much. So if we're using plant purees, then if we just don't overbake them and bake them to perfection, then they have the most lovely texture, and you feel good after you eat them, and they're so nourishing. For frostings, you could, again, use the Kite Hill cream cheese for a cream cheese frosting, and you could blend in some dates or some maple syrup to sweeten it. You could also, for a frosting, you can use avocado. Avocados can be sweet or savory. You just don't want to cook the avocado because then it's not going to taste very good. You can make a nut butter. Anyone can make a nut butter just by taking, ideally, raw nuts and seeds, throwing them in your food processor and turning it on and walking away for 6 minutes. You're going to see it turn into kind of a flour, and you're going to think, it's not working, like I need to add something. But don't do it, just wait, because it will start to release the natural oils. And if you leave it long enough, it will become a delicious, luscious nut butter. And you can make your own blends, you can make your own flavors. If you take you can mix in some cocoa powder, some cacao powder, and it becomes Nutella. Or if you want it to be really decadent, you can melt some chocolate, let it cool slightly, and like stir in the nut butter, maybe a little bit of date puree or maple syrup, and you have the most heavenly chocolate ganache. You can make truffles with it. You can frost a cake with it. And those are all some of my fun baking tips. And these are all things that you can prepare in the plant-based culinary course in the fall, if you'd like to join us.
Yeah, we actually had someone that was hoping you could share a little bit about the classes, and then that you mentioned a new certificate too.
Right, yeah. I'm so excited. And so we've had a plant-based culinary course offering long ago, but when the budget cuts came, those went away. And so we're bringing them back and updating them for everything that's happening now. In the nutrition course, we're going to be doing a deep dive and looking at not only like the history of how we learned about what was most nourishing for us, you know, all of the landmark scientists and researchers, but also like looking at whole intact foods and getting a much deeper understanding of what is helping them optimize our health, what in them is is providing that nutritional benefit, and how to optimize the benefit of every food, and how to prepare it in a way where it's the most delicious and also the most nourishing. We can get absorb the most nutrients from it. And in the sustainable agriculture class, we decided against a lab component because we want anyone to be able to take it throughout the world, have it be accessible to the most number of people. And so you can be growing your own vegetables and fruits potentially at home if you like, and learning about how to do that and how to live sustainably.
That's amazing. I know we're getting really close to the very end, and we just really want to thank you for being here today and sharing your wisdom. And I took a lot of notes, but I didn't capture everything you said, so I'm really glad this is recorded. But just a reminder for students that you will keep an eye on your My Cuesta email, or the email that you put on the jot form, to get information about the $25 e-gift card to Target, so you can go and purchase these items that were shown today. And Elisabeth, if you're willing to spend another minute or two, maybe we can stop recording and maybe just answer any questions that students may have.
Sure, yeah, and I'd love to do more of these in the future. If there's something that you crave at 2 in the morning and you want to learn how to make a wonderful, nourishing dish of it at home, then let me know. I'd love to do this again. Thank you.
Love it. Okay, well, I will stop recording, and then we can hang on, and any student who's wanting to stay, we'd love to have you.